Welcome to Motivations. I'm your host, Jai Sugrim, and today it's a tremendous honor for me to have on the show one of my mentors and a really good friend and a guide, Larry DeVoskin. Larry, welcome to the show.
Boom.
We're excited today to talk about overcoming anxiety, obstacles, and depression, and lining with your personal interests. Larry embodies lining up with his interests as a musician and doing what he loves. His business is all about doing what he loves. So Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You've worked with some of the biggest names in music, Paul McCartney, MGMT, the Beach Boys, and here you are to share some of your experience and your journey with us. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I do want to say to those watching that if I am his mentor, he's in trouble. Because I'm a rock and roller. And
He's being humble, folks.
I'm being very humble because, most people in their profession have a tagline like dedicated to children or health. But in my profession, the tagline is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And so I think that, as they say, a lion in the Serengeti, if they survive the dry season, they're a success. And I think reaching my age, doing what I love, is a symbol of success.
And being alive and well.
And being alive and well. I was very fortunate. I chose something very early on that was my passion and that most people say is a hobby, which is playing music. And I had a bit of an obsession. I would sit home and play 8 hours a day studying classical music, doing all kinds of things. My friends would come over and say, oh, there's a party, there's a this, there's a dance. And I'd say, no, I'm going to practice. And they'd say, oh, you're so boring, you don't go out. But by freshman year in high school, my band was playing at the freshman class reception, and everyone was coming to see me as the entertainment. And it was a Cinderella syndrome. They looked at me on the stage and they said, how did that guy get up there?
Mm-hmm. Practice makes perfect. We are reformed in the flames and the effort of practice, for sure.
So let me tell you about, I've taught music at NYU for 15 years, songwriting. And the students come up to me and they say, I didn't just learn about chords or melodies, I learned about life. You've taught me these principles of living that apply to anything and not just music. And for years, people were saying, write a book, do something. And I thought, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I don't write, but I did, and the book, Do What You Love, Songwriting, outsold my entire music catalog of 30 years. By the way, I didn't work with Paul McCartney. I just met him because I've worked with Al Jardine of the Beach Boys.
Of the Beach Boys, okay.
I want to clarify that so there's no false news going on.
He hangs out with all the bigwigs.
So, because Paul is a fan of the Beach Boys, we coagulate together at things like the Grammys. But to get back to the point, I started thinking about anything that's a hobby for one person is actually a profession for another. Your profession is being a mentor and a guide for health, wellness, fitness, and yoga. So that, for some people, is their hobby, but for you, it's your profession. So I started looking at all my friends, and I thought, here's an opportunity. The world is so troubled right now. There's so many challenges that people realize, like, life is short. I better start doing the thing that brings me joy. Even if it's not what I do to earn a living, I can do it just for my own fulfillment. And so I started asking friends of mine who teach singing, would you like to do like a Do What You Love video that's not just a TED Talk or something, but really where you instruct people and then you quiz them and that goes back and forth.
So you find masters in each field to represent that field so someone can model their experience, maybe?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And the thing is that's different about, let's say, some of these other things. You can look online and find a million instructional things on YouTube. They're low quality. But our thing is based on principles, life principles.
Okay.
Again, so you can apply them to any different area of life. So I've already lined up a friend who's a famous chef, a friend who's a famous fashion designer, a friend who's a famous photographer. I hope we have a friend here who's a famous yoga instructor. And the idea is to help people. The idea of Do What You Love, in essence, is to help people have a more fulfilling life, focusing on the things they love. And we're launching it, and it's going like a rock uphill all by itself.
I'm thinking of your example. You were lucky to find what you did, and somehow that discipline to practice while everyone else was fooling around helped you get on that stage. And they're like, how did he get there? They didn't see all those hours of practice. What would you say to a young kid out there that has a passion, but the parent is whispering in their ear more about careers that are not in the arts or financial stability, how do you get to that point or make that decision that this is what I'm going to put my heart, soul, and everything into?
It's a great question. And I'll tell you, and this is just for me, I say people don't try this at home, like one of those TV warnings. I knew that if I had a fallback position in life, I would fall backwards. Because the
Okay.
minute things got tough, I'd be like, this is too much. So, I joke around and say some people commit murder and they go to prison for life. I committed music and I've gone to the music business for life. And that thing about it is that, yeah, there were times when I couldn't pay the rent, when I was behind on bills,
Right.
when I had people just saying, you can't stay in this apartment. But, it's sort of like necessity is the mother of invention. In really moments where I thought there's just a wall in front of me, suddenly a door would appear. And it's this faith. People who start companies, it could be Kentucky Fried Chicken, it could be Apple Computers. You go out into the world and everyone says, don't do that. That's a dumb idea. I've worked with the Beach Boys for years, and they told me that when they started, they played like at a little campfire on the beach, and people came up to them and said, guys, first of all, you can't sing. You're all ugly. And for sure, you're never going to make it with a name as dumb as the Beach Boys. A year later, they were #1, and the Beatles were #2 on the charts, and the rest is history. So I really feel like you have to have some kind of inner compass and know that even if you fail, at least you really tried.
Yeah.
And there's a balance. I used to look at just doing my solo career as my career, and anything else, helping someone with their song or teaching a kid, was outside of that. Now I realize that it's all spokes on the same wheel. If I'm being of service to other people and to the planet, I've had a successful day.
What's the role, Larry, of for you in mentors? Like, there are times that you've said inevitably when you are a business, it's not I'm a businessman, I am a businessman. We are the business. We're the face and the wheels of the business. What's the role for those sticking points of a mentor, someone that has trod the path before you, that can maybe stand on the mountaintop and look down at an oblique angle and say, hey, maybe try this? Have you had people like that, or just did you have to will your way through the dark spots?
It's a lost art that's so important to have mentors. And all along the way, I had people who shared in 5 days or 5 weeks what took them 5 years to learn. And so the idea in all maturity, in all adulthood, is you gain certain knowledge and wisdom, you climb the ladder, and then you help other people up the ladder. Otherwise, it gets stale and stagnant, and it's a very important thing.
The other day, I was interviewing a kid that stepped up to me to be a mentor, and I told him that the quality that I was attracted to in him was the hunger. Like, he just had raw power. He doesn't have a father in his life. He's not sure who his father is. And that energy, his hunger, and my stability, and seeing myself, my youth in him, was what made me give him a break and said, okay, you can come on board and learn from me. You have to be an asset to my life. And I feel like young people looking for a mentor today shouldn't be soft about approaching it. They should go really as how can I benefit this person's life, make their life easy. There is that energy of master-disciple submission that I think some of the millennials are missing. Like, they want it to be sort of handed on to them. Like, what do you think of that energy of, how would you take a kid?
I want to ask you about all these things. What are these things? This is sort of like a plastic. Did you get this at like one of these five and dime
This
places?
is to focus my mind
know?
and balance my chakras.
Yeah.
I'm a master of energy
What
control.
chakras? What chakras do you
And
have?
the subtle energy that flows throughout my system in order to control my mind and direct my energy.
And what about-
These are called anchors, and I use them. Much like the tattoo is a symbol, it's training my subconscious mind, like the Nike symbol that goes, just do it, get up and just do it. This is like, it's all one, it's all unified. Don't worry, don't stress. Trust the moment. It's happening
What
now.
about your socks? Didn't your mama tell you to wear socks?
My mama didn't raise no fool. This is
I'm
the
just
older hipster
I'm
look.
just trying to break it up here. A little humor goes a
You
long way
know,
in life.
a
A little humor goes a long way in life.
little humor
But,
has a lot of mileage.
to answer your question
Yeah.
more seriously about mentors and mentorship, especially, I can't speak to other professions. People are probably, in my imagination, more serious when they're studying yoga or medicine. But in music, people have a lot of cliches in their mind that they have to be pure artists, and there's a Van Gogh syndrome. If I don't succeed, but I'm true to myself, I'll be famous one. And I always tell people the only thing standing in the way of you and success is you.
Right.
Like, get out of the way. And I can't tell you how many people that I work with who have no experience and no success and no track record who know it all. And then I often will work with somebody who's really professional, like who's had hits, who's been renowned in the world for years, and they just show up and they say, tell me what to do. I'm your instrument, guide me, direct me. Oh, by the way, I'm on Saturday Night Live after this, I gotta go. They're at a professional level where they're not so attached to all of these sort of definitions that don't really mean
They
anything.
have a great attitude.
And yeah, they're just open. People talk about art and what makes a great artist. The Beatles had a manager who came in and said, lose the boots and the leather jackets. I want you to put on like a little sport jacket with a little tie. And they didn't just say, well, no, this is our image. We're like in leather motorbike boots and leather jacket. They just said, oh, okay,
Right.
sure. And boom, they were on top of the pops, and then they were, on the top of the charts.
We're going to round it off now, and you touched on something about about getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
So, what are 3 quick things someone can do to get out of their own way? Sometimes we're bogged down by anxiety, guilt, depression, or bad moods. So, what are 3 things that someone can do to get clear and centered in their life if they want to pursue their passion and do what they love?
Well, I really have to say that it's several things. One is just say yes until you have to say no. And as simple as that sounds, it's much harder than it seems.
Say yes to what?
Say yes to opportunity. When people, there's a saying that sometimes you want to get in the house and you're knocking on the front door, but there's a window right next to you that's open. Climb in the window. And I mean that symbolically. Just find your way in.
Right.
Some people say they want to be rock stars. Well, I'll start writing songs for someone, or start playing in someone's band first. Just find your way in and do that thing. Number 2 is I look at life from the other person's eyes. I don't look at what I can get from you or what you have that I want. I look at what I have that will make your life better. And when you show up in that way, everyone wants to be your friend and hang out with you because you're cool. And number 3, it's you are the company you keep. And like-minded people.
Absolutely.
Be around like-minded people. I think that that's really important. For me, with Do What You Love, my colleagues are people who have overcome tremendous obstacles. I have a friend of mine who's a fashion designer, Nick Graham. He started this company, Joe Boxer. And it's a great story. He needed underwear, so he started printing dollar bills on these shorts. The IRS came one day with a warrant and said, we're confiscating counterfeit money. He said, counterfeit money? I have a bunch of underwear. They took it away and sent him a letter that said cease and desist from the Internal Revenue Service. He started printing cease and desist letters on underwear. A radio station heard about it, told the story, and then 10,000 people wrote in and called him and said, I want this cease and desist underwear. And a multi-million-dollar company was formed. He once tried to put a big mustache on the Statue of Liberty, like get a little prop plane and build like this gigantic mustache and fly it right in front of the Statue of Liberty and then take a photo. And the Parks Department found out about it, shut it down, but the publicity about it was incredible. I hang out with this guy because he's a genius. He may be crazy, but he's a genius, and that feeds all of my other business enterprises because you have to think outside the box. There is no box anymore.
There is no box, and that's the psychology of success. I want to talk about what we do when we're alone. I'm going to give 3 tips to you young people at home in the dark corners of your own mind. Wake up early, 4 to 7 a.m. That's the sattvic, reflective part of the day. Everyone else is sleeping. Everyone's sleeping. Wake up early. Number 2, work out. Take care of the body, the instrument of perception. Take care of the mind with a little bit of meditation every day. Focus the mind, focus the body. So get it right, and This guy here has got the psychology of success with climbing through the window, don't bang down the door. Larry,
Yeah.
where can people find all of these resources, the media? Where can they find you and your work and contribute to what you're doing?
Well, thank you. We are putting together now a really wonderful, enlightening, and fun video series, and we're going to be starting to have live events. So people can just sign up to know when we're doing something and when things are coming out at DWYL, which stands for Do What You Love Media.com. There's just a little landing page with some pre-video, some pre-information. So it's D like David, W like water, Y like yellow, L like love, media.com. And people can find out. And we're doing that very soon. And I hope you're going to be part of the team because you have really inspired me. You've inspired a lot of people around the world. I watch you travel around the whole world in the summer. And it's a wide open thing. I just think right now there's so much negativity in the world that anyone who adds positivity is a gift to mankind. Not to sound pretentious, but
The earth needs the best to shine from each one of us, and you've heard from one of today's masters, a good friend of mine, a mentor. We'd love to have you back on the show another time, Larry. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned, guys, for our next guest. Take care.
thank you. Thank you.